Hi everyone, my name is Natalie.
Hey, and I'm Sasha Burson.
And one of the subjects today, a big subject we're going to talk about is SEO. A personal injury attorney out of New York, his name is George. He's saying that he's had a marketing agency who was trying to help him with SEO. Didn't really go anywhere. He's not seeing much results from his website. So we're trying to help and bust the myth about the SEO and what it is really and how it can help you and what can you do to best utilize it.
Okay, so we've been serving attorneys for quite some time, and here's something that I find absolutely bewildering. So with all the people that are trained in Socratic thinking, and most attorneys are like super inquisitive, just incredibly inquisitive. Whenever they buy marketing services, no one actually like asks, what is it that I get for this SEO stuff? Like what's actually inside the SEO box, the search engine optimization, right? It's a black box, like most people don't get it. And my hypothesis is that people do not want to ask that question, so they do not appear arrogant. Right? Like everyone's been using internet for 20 plus years. So it's kind of like you need to know, like we assume that we know what SEO is, but in reality, like 9 out of 10, probably 99 out of 100 attorneys have no clue what SEO means. They kind of get like what it's supposed to do, but they don't know what it means, what's included. And here's what very, very, very often happens. You hire a firm and it offers you like this long of a list of services, and there's a line item that's called search engine optimization, and you're like, oh good, it's on the list. So I got it. And then you sign a contract for a year or whatever your marketing company might have asked you to sign this for. And then you do not get very much improvement, if any, through your website other than paid traffic, like ads on Google. There are some very large competitor, one large competitor that we know that really focuses on like paid traffic and doesn't do much in terms of organic traffic, which is a huge mistake, but we know that it's easier to do paid than it is to do organic. So they're a machine that has thousands of clients, and this is how you really scale up and get big, but not necessarily very good for your clients. So we're going to omit their name, but you probably know who they are. So what is SEO and why you really need to know it? Search engine optimization includes any and all type of work that helps your website become more visible online through any and all channels. So when people search for you, they can actually find you. So I am going to focus on one search engine and one search engine only because Google has nearly 93% of all search traffic. So Bing and Yahoo are, for all practical purposes, are nearly irrelevant, right? Yes, there is still plenty of search that happens there, but for the purpose of this video, it would be foolish to talk about them, although they work very similar to the way that Google works. So you can assume that the same information really applies to them. So search engine optimization makes your website more visible to search traffic. So whenever anyone uses Google, you are more visible. Now, what is included in search engine optimization? There's actually a lot. But the primary thing that we need to focus on is really bringing more relevant traffic to your website. That's what SEO is supposed to do. And when I say relevant traffic, it's people who are looking for answers to their questions that you and other attorneys in your practice area can answer. And we as marketers want you to pop up in #1 position in Google, or at the worst in #5 position in Google, because vast majority of all search traffic goes to the first 5 positions in Google. Not 10, not 100, but first 5. This is where 65% of all clicks happen. And by the way, number of clicks that happen in paid traffic, those paid ads, way fewer. It's about 5% of what happens in the top 5. So you get 100 clicks here and you get like 5 clicks there. So you definitely want to be found here. Now, How does Google determine whether you should be listed in the top 5 or not? It really comes down to one word: authority. How much authority your website has on a particular subject and overall as a website, right? How do you gain authority? That's a great question, and there is no mystery in it. And here's how it works. Authority starts with someone putting in an inquiry or query in the search bar in Google, and when they see your website, they click on it. To Google, that indicates that the search query matches the listing. So because it is a good match, Google says, we have a match. So your website gets a little authority simply from that act, right? If they see your listing but don't click on it, Google thinks that your website is irrelevant to that search, to that person. So the more that happens, the less authority your website gets. The second thing that happens is when people spend the time on the page. So they search, then they click, then they spend time on the page. The more time they spend on the page, the more authority Google gives you, because Google looks at this factor as what they call dwell time. So the more dwell time, the more relevant the information is supposed to be to the person who searched for that information. So Google says, that's great. This content is definitely relevant. And Google is in the business, aside from making money, they're in the business of delivering the most relevant information to the users who are searching for that information. So for them, first click-through from doing the search to looking at the listing, to clicking on the listing is first factor. Second factor is dwell time, right? The negative factor that they look at is bounce rate. How quickly people bounce out of your website after they visit just one website. If you can get them to go to another page and another page on your website, Google looks at it very favorably. So the lower the bounce rate, the better. Now, the other factor that Google looks at is how much authority your website has with others. How many other websites are pointing to your website, and how credible or how much authority those websites have. So for example, if you have high authority websites, like 100 high authority websites pointing to your website, and all of your competitors have like 20 websites on average pointing to their website, your page is going to rank higher than your competitors. Remember that in Google, it's all about competition, that real estate is highly limited. Like those top 5 are just that, they're 5, not 6, they're 5. This is where 65% of all clicks happen, right? So if your website has more authority than my website, your website is going to be higher ranked than my website. So your goal is to make sure that whenever someone looks for the information, is that the listing matches that information. How do you do that? So you don't just have a home page, practice areas, and a few other pages. You actually have pages that actually answer to most common queries, right? So when someone searches for topic A, B, C, D, E, F, G, you actually have landing pages. That's what we call them, because people land on those pages when their search matches those pages. You actually have each page answering that one particular query. And Google loves that, because that page is much more relevant than the home page, right? You need to make sure that that search matches. And then you have other websites pointing to all of these pages. That gives your website even more authority. And then when you're listed in all of the directories, like general directories like Yelp and Google actually also is a directory website, right? And then you have specialty directories like Avon, Nolo, etc., pointing to your website. And then you have other high authority websites listing, having links to your website. All of that just gives a credibility boost. Reviews, positive reviews on Google and elsewhere, give it a positive credibility boost. So as much attention as you can get from outside sources as possible, do that. And how do you do that? If you're an attorney, I don't suggest you do this at all. I suggest that you hire a highly proficient agency that can handle this for you, because when you hire an agency, typically there are 8 to 12 people working on your account doing different things. This is not something that you can replicate within your office unless you actually have the budget to hire 8 to 12 people doing all of this work. So always hire the right agency, but before you do, ask them the right questions. What do they do for SEO? Is it just like some of our competitors do? Is it just the listings that are optimized for search? Is it like really basic stuff, or will they go much further? And when I say much further, is making sure that, for example, that for every search query, you have a landing page that matches that search query. And people search differently. They use different keywords and terms to look for information relevant to your business. So you got to make sure that for all of those, you do actually build up landing pages. Landing pages that do have information path that follows the landing page. So they actually spend more time on your website than just that one page. And again, all of those inbound links from other websites are highly important. And sometimes those links go away for whatever reason. The owner of the website deletes that page, edits that page, something happens, so you have to monitor it. And it is a highly competitive game because your competitors are vying for that same attention. So you gotta play the game day in and day out. You never stop and rest on your laurels. You gotta make sure that you keep on building, or your marketing agency keeps on building. So I think we have another video where we talk about what questions to ask of a marketing agency. Yep. So let's link up to that video under this video, so people can actually watch and learn what questions should be asked, just to make sure that the agency that you hire is highly proficient in SEO. Did I miss anything? Such a big subject.
It is a big subject, and I think you narrowed it down pretty well. But one more thing I wanted to talk about, as far as ask the questions to ask your agency. To this day, we still get a few clients that come in, and then we check what was done for their SEO in the past, and it's nothing. Why? Because when we look at the previous contract or proposal, it does say SEO. So sometimes for attorneys, that's enough. Like the line there says SEO, we're gonna do a search engine optimization. Okay, that's good, but that's not good enough. You do need to ask what kind of SEO. If it's SEO done just on the website, maybe tweaking something which is called on-site SEO, which is still important, but if there's no off-site SEO, it's not really full SEO service. So please be careful about this and do ask a lot of questions like, what exactly does it mean? So what exactly will you do? Okay, well, what exactly does this involve? So just because attorneys are by nature curious, I guess, so just be curious with SEO and ask.
Inquisitive. Be very inquisitive. And Natalie, yeah, I think that's spot on. You can't do one thing and ignore others. That's not going to work very well. It will really not work very well. SEO has to be done holistically. There is a list of things that need to be done. I only focused on a couple of really big ones. There's really a list of things that need to be there's a lot.
So many technical things, and even on the website, if this is not done, then Google kind of penalizes, gives you -1. And all of those minuses, a lot of them can trigger this effect where, okay, you do have 3 big pluses, but you have those 15 minuses, which is not good enough.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, it's not a game where you can personally, or someone in your firm can do this. You do need to have a firm to help you with the SEO, or an internal person who is just dedicated to digital marketing and SEO.
Yeah. And sometimes, I'm glad that you mentioned losing points in SEO. Google will penalize you for things that you would never think about. How quickly your website loads actually affects whether you will be highly ranked or not. If your website load speed is slow, Google will actually penalize you for that. If your website doesn't have an SSL certificate, you don't need to know what that is, but it makes your website secure. Google will penalize you for that. If your website is not optimized for mobile, Google will penalize you for that. There are so many different ways to get a penalty assessed against your website. It's mind-boggling. So when you think about SEO, there are 200 factors that Google has in its algorithm that are all working for you or against you, or there's usually some sort of a mix, some working for you and some work against you. So when we see a competitor who after a year hasn't accomplished much for our client, and we look at what's been done, and like Natalie said, there isn't very much or nothing at all that's been done, it's it's a crime. And here's why it's a crime, right? So it's not the money that you spent with that agency, it's the money that you didn't make because of that agency. So demand that whoever you hire actually gives you a list of things that they're going to do for your search engine optimization. Because if they cost you $500 a month or $5,000 a month, right? It doesn't matter. It's about the results that they're going to deliver. And if those results are this much for this much money versus this much for this much money, like you want a company that's going to charge you this much for this much money rather than this much for this much result, or sometimes it's like nothing at all. So you got to be very, very strategic when you think about those things and be very inquisitive and ask them, like, what are you going to do within SEO? I heard stupid things like creating content. Like one of our competitors would create content when you ask them to. And they won't create any specific content unless you tell them what to write about. So for example, you settle the case and you call them and you say, hey, I want you to write about this case I settled. Great, that goes into case studies, but so what? Like you need to create content that answers those search queries. And there could be many, many, many of them. So it's a continuous process. Like you really need to demand more information because SEO should be leading to a huge bump in your revenue and in your bottom line. And that's really why you're supposed to do it, or why you should hire a very proficient marketing agency that does it for you. So you really need to understand what they will do.
And for one of our clients, we actually achieved great results just by doing SEO and basically replacing all of his PPC leads
completely
with SEO leads, with leads that came from SEO. So this strategic long-term SEO investment into SEO basically replaced all of his monthly ongoing investment into PPC
completely.
Or pay-per-click like AdWords and stuff. So it is a great opportunity.
Yeah, and that's, by the way, that's a really important point. If you can do without spending money on paid ads, you do. If you can't, you supplement your organic leads with your paid leads. However, here's one thing that we do know about paid ads versus organic listings. If you stop spending money on paid ads, like the moment you shut it off is the moment that the ads go away and the traffic, those prospective clients, go away in an instant. With organic, once you build up solid positions, you will continue generating business for some time, even after you stop. It usually takes some time to start like really sleeping in your positions as your competitors are taking over. But if you continue on maintaining, you just keep on gaining momentum until you reach that critical mass and you're just getting a ton of new business, which is not something that you can do with ads because once again, once you shut them off, they're gone. Yeah. All right. I think that's a wrap. Thanks for watching.
Thanks.
We'll be right back.